And of course, it's been a long journey to get to this point. In 2019, Daily Maverick journalist Pauli van Wyk wrote an article about what's taking place at VBS Mutual Bank.
And speaking of Pauli van Wyk and the people that insulted this woman for doing her job, are these people going to apologize to Pauli van Wyk? And when I say people, I mean the EFF supporters. Are the EFF supporters going to apologize to Pauli van Wyk for simply doing her job? You have to understand that over the years, Pauli van Wyk is literally the only person who was trying to show South Africans and make South Africans understand of the role of the EFF in the collapse of VBS. And I must say that at some point it looked like Pauli van Wyk is out of her mind, because you had this woman from Daily Maverick who told us about the role that was played by the EFF in the collapse of VBS. But at the same time, when you look at the court papers, you look at the names of the people that were implicated in the collapse of VBS, you don't see the names of the leaders of EFF. That's why I'm saying that at some point it looked like Pauli van Wyk is out of her mind. And this was the EFF's defense, that our names are nowhere to be found. You can go and see the court papers. The court papers are all over the place. You can go on the internet and see the names of the people that were implicated in VBS, and you will not find the names of the leaders of EFF. And this is what actually makes this affidavit a huge deal, because for the first time ever, the EFF leadership has been directly implicated in the collapse of VBS. So I'm asking again, these people who used to insult Pauli van Wyk, who used to abuse Pauli van Wyk, who used to terrorize Pauli van Wyk for simply telling us about the role that was played by the EFF, are these people going to apologize to Pauli van Wyk? And of course, man, I'm being sarcastic when I'm asking this, because there's no way the EFF supporters are going to apologize to Pauli van Wyk. If anything, they are going to intensify their attacks. They are going to intensify their attacks. So I hope that Pauli van Wyk is ready for anything that is about to come. Because if you think that the EFF supporters attacked you and abused you in the first half, wait for these people to come in the second half. And me personally, guys, man, I must say that it's a bit strange to me how we as South Africans are willing to turn a blind eye, are willing to defend and are willing to deflect whenever our favorite politicians have been implicated in corruption. It is so strange. And it is making me realize that South Africans don't care about corruption. We don't care about corruption. We only pretend to care about corruption whenever corruption has been committed by people that we don't like. This is the only time you will hear us complaining and making noise about corruption, is because that corruption has been committed by people that we don't like. But if one of our favorite politicians have been accused of corruption, we are willing to turn a blind eye, we are willing to defend, and we are willing to deflect. This is exactly what's happening with the EFF. You remember after that scathing affidavit of Arthur Fraser on Cyril Ramaphosa in Phalaphala, the EFF supporters, they ran with the narrative of Arthur Fraser as if it was a word of God. They ran with that affidavit, and anything that Arthur Fraser said in that affidavit, they are holding to every word as if it's a word of God. And in all fairness, Phala has not been ventilated in the court of law. But the EFF supporters can tell you that Ramaphosa is guilty of Phala. We don't care that this thing has not been ventilated in the court of law. We know that the president had millions of foreign cash in his mattresses and sofas. And we believe that there is some sort of accountability that the president needs to hold. You can't tell me that you are the president of the country and we hear about your farm having millions of dollars and foreign cash and there is no accountability for you. No, it makes no sense. You have to be held accountable for something. This was the approach of the EFF in the matter of Phala. And all of these things by affidavit. Now we have an affidavit that is implicating the leadership of the EFF. Now you have the former mastermind, the former chair of EFF or of VBS, who orchestrated the whole collapse of the EFF. And this person is telling South Africans of the role that was played by the EFF in the collapse of VBS. And the same EFF supporters are saying, no, you can't take his word. You can't take his word. This man is in jail and he will say anything to get out of jail. Forgetting that initially, this man got 400 years, and for him to get 15 years, I almost said 15,000 years. He got 400 years, and for him to get 15 years, he had to say that, okay, I'm going to tell you what happened with Phala. So on the other side, you have Arthur Fraser and the affidavit of Arthur Fraser implicating Cyril Ramaphosa and accusing Cyril Ramaphosa of money laundering and all sorts of stuff because of the foreign cash that was found in his Phala farm. This is the word of God. On the other side, you have the former chair of VBS, the mastermind who orchestrated everything, who told us that the EFF got into this VBS eating stuff because Julius Malema and the leadership of the EFF, they could not shut up about the loan that we gave Jacob Zuma. VBS gave Jacob Zuma a loan and Julius Malema started making noise about it. And me, as the chair of VBS, I said, Julius Malema and the EFF, they need to be approached and we need to explain to these people why Jacob Zuma was given that loan. And maybe we need to incentivize these people to stop talking about this loan that we gave to Jacob Zuma. So we are going to give EFF 5 million rands and we are going to pay 1 million per month to these people. But they can only do that if they open a bank with VBS. So we are going to orchestrate some sort of contract. This is where the brother of Floyd Shivambu, Brian Shivambu, came with that bogus company, Gameka, and this is where Gameka and Vele Investment. Vele Investment is the company that belongs to the mastermind of VBS. This is where Floyd Shivambu and his company, Gameka, signed a contract with Vele Investment and Floyd, and they orchestrated a bogus contract so that there can be a flow of money. And Pauli van Wyk was telling us about all of these things, but we didn't believe her. We didn't believe her. Because in the official papers, you could not find the names of the EFF leadership. So I guess what people are asking to the EFF supporters, they are saying, guys, to be fair with you, no one is saying that Julius Malema is guilty No one is saying that Floyd Shivambu is guilty. We need to be fair. This matter has not been ventilated in the court. This is just an affidavit. This is what the former chair of EFF or of VBS said about the EFF leadership. We don't know how true is it. I guess right now the only way we can know how true this matter is, it's if Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu goes to the court and clear their names. But what South Africans are asking to the EFF supporters, they are saying, guys, can you please approach this matter of VBS with the same energy that you approached the matter of Palapala? Because with Arthur Fraser and Palapala, you didn't need to see any evidence. You just believed that Arthur Fraser is telling the truth because you don't like Cyril Ramaphosa. So Cyril Ramaphosa is a money launderer, Cyril Ramaphosa is a criminal, basically. But now that your leadership has been implicated in the scandal that has destroyed poor black people's lives, you are not even willing to look at what has been said. This is why I'm saying that we as South Africans, we don't care about corruption. We only pretend to care about corruption when corruption has been committed by people that we don't like. If corruption is being committed by people that we do like, we are willing to turn a blind eye, we are willing to defend, and we are willing to deflect. And I guess this is the reason why this country is not going to be developed anytime soon. Because politicians understand the type of people that they have. And this is where you will actually get to appreciate the divide and conquer of politicians. Because politicians have managed to divide us in this country by political parties. So they know that if I'm accused of corruption, it doesn't matter if the evidence is there. I am going to have my people that are going to defend me. There will be a battalion of people willing to defend me. It is so strange. It is so strange. It is so strange how the people that are not benefiting in this corruption are willing to defend politicians with everything they have. They are willing to defend politicians with everything they have. And now we are talking about people that are not getting a simple cent to go on social media and see how the supporters of Cyril Ramaphosa protected him. And these are the people that are not even getting a cent of Ramaphosa's money. Now we are talking about VBS. And you have the supporters of the EFF, the people that are not getting a cent of this VBS man. They are willing to put everything on the line to defend their favorite politician. It is so strange. And I think that we can admit that politicians have won. They have managed to divide us. They have managed to divide us. We are no longer objective when it comes to the matters of corruption. We are simply waiting to hear, oh, that is the politician that I like. No, he's innocent. If it's the politician that you don't like, he's guilty. So politicians have actually realized that these poor people that are not benefiting anything, they are willing to put everything on the line to defend us. Don't you think it's strange? I think it's strange, man. I mean, if you are an EFF supporter, you belong to a political party that prides itself with defending and standing for poor black people. You look at this issue of VBS and you understand that the people that have been robbed, the people that have been taken advantage of are poor black people. Their savings are gone. and you are still willing to defend the politicians. You are not even saying, guys, how about this matter goes to the court so that we can see who is guilty and who is not. No, you are not willing to do that. You are willing to defend the leadership of your favorite political party. Suddenly you don't care about these poor black people because the leadership of your favorite political party is under siege. When are we going to learn?
And of course, it's been a long journey to get to this point. In 2019, Daily Maverick journalist Pauli van Wyk wrote an article about what's taking place at VBS Mutual Bank and brought the silence of two key PIC officials into the spotlight. Pauli van Wyk joining us now via our telephone line just for her own reflections, given what has been said in the past and what's being said now. Pauli, it's lovely to have you on the...
I mean, like, guys, don't you wish that we could be objective as the people of this country? Like, don't you wish that when we hear about the millions of foreign cash in President's farm, all of us needs to say that, okay, guys, there is something that is happening there. President, can you please explain to us what is happening there? The same thing with VBS. Can't we simply say that, guys, poor people lost their savings? Poor, vulnerable people lost their savings. What actually happened with the savings of these people? Instead of just defending, can we simply try to be objective with all of these things that are happening in the country? Because I can tell you now, as long as we behave like this as the people of this country, there is no way that this country is going to move forward. This country is never going to move forward. This country is never going to move forward, and the politicians that are benefiting will continue to get richer while the masses continue to get poor. We will be here on the ground fighting each other about who is guilty, who is not guilty, while these people are enjoying the best of life. We need to start seeing these things, man.
And of course, it's been a long journey to get to this point. In 2019, Daily Maverick journalist Pauli van Wyk wrote an article about what's taking place at VBS Mutual Bank and brought the silence of two key PIC officials into the spotlight. Pauli van Wyk joining us now via our telephone line just for her own reflections, given what has been said in the past and what's being said now. Pauli, it's lovely to have you on the SABC. Thanks very much for making time to speak to us. And yeah, I mean, you know, you spent a number of time, or some time, I should say, following the money trail, as it were. And there've been all kinds of commentary around your reporting in the past. Let me just begin by what your sentiments are this Friday morning, given what's emerged from this affidavit.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. I'm surprised. I didn't know that Mototsi, or I didn't think ever that Mototsi would turn in the way that he did, and that he would give such an extensive affidavit, because we must remember that Mototsi was the spider in the middle of the web. He was the kingpin. He's the person that ties all of them together. So what he did was to highlight who his inner circle were, so the bank managers, who pushed the button, who broke the system, where the money went to, and who was really responsible. Then he tells us who gave them cover. Those were like the PIC directors, and some of the commission agents like Kabelo Matsepe and Danny Msiza from the ANC in Limpopo. So it's extensive. The network is shown really, really well. And then he supports, I think, what journalists have been writing and showing for a very long time. Right. That Danny Msiza received a lot of money, that Kabelo Matsepe received millions, that Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu received millions, and that the politics in the country really need to be questioned, because at this moment, and he said so of the EFF specifically, was that their political muscle could be bought. And that I find sad and questionable, and the rest of the country really needs to sit down and ponder and think about what that means.
And exactly, man. And I guess this is the reason why this is such a huge scandal. Because EFF is the political party that prides itself for standing for poor black people. So when you hear that poor people's money was used to give a loan to a former president, And the EFF was complaining about that, but them being given a few millions to actually buy their silence, it actually becomes sad, man. It actually becomes sad. It becomes sad. And me personally, guys, I don't want to lie. I hope all of these things, they can be taken to the courts. I hope that they can be taken to the courts so that we can know who is telling the truth and who is lying. I think South Africans need that. I think the people in Venda, they need that. I think the people that were victims of this brazen bank heist, they need that. The law needs to move fast when it comes to this thing of VBS, man. It's been over 5 years already. And the victims of this, man, they cannot even get over what happened to their savings. They cannot get over what happened to their savings. So the faster NPA moves, the better for everyone. The better for everyone. It is so sad, man. You have political parties that are screaming black this, black that. You have ANC and you have the EFF. These political parties are screaming black this. You have the South African Communist Party, allegedly the SACP. They got 3 million from this VBS. I think I saw a payslip or a proof of payment somewhere on social media showing that the SACP got 3 million of this VBS money. These are the organizations that always talks about black people. We need to protect black people. We are fighting for black people. We are trying to liberate the black people. And you find the same organizations in these corruptions, man. This is why it is so sad. This is why it is so sad and hateful. Because these are the people that are supposed to protect the vulnerable that are living on the ground. These are the organizations that are supposed to fight and make sure that the vulnerable are not being mistreated. But these are the same organizations that are making sure that the lives of vulnerable people are turned into hell. It is sad, man. Very sad. Very sad. How are people going to believe with these people next time around? When they say that we fight for black people, we fight for poor black people, how are average South Africans expected to actually believe these people? When they say these things, whereas they are always implicated in some sort of corruption. This is not the first time these political parties have actually been implicated in corruption. They are implicated all over the place in corruption. But they speak, we are for black people, black this, black that, we stand for black people, we fight for black people. And hopefully, man, one day, black people in this country are going to realize that their blackness has been used against them. Maybe one day, the black people in this country are going to realize that these people that are claiming to be for us are not exactly for us. They are simply using the fact that we are all black and hoping that we are stupid enough not to see anything that they do simply because they are black. I honestly hope that one day black people are going to see that this corner they have been put into, that you have to respect black political parties, you have to vote for black political parties, you must not question anything that has to do with black politicians. I hope one day people are going to realize that this corner that they have been put into, they are only put into that corner so that they can be silenced. Me, I refuse to be on that corner. This is the reason why you will see many of these political parties, many of these supporters of these political parties calling me with names, because they realize that you cannot put Thomas into a corner. You can't put me into a corner. I am a free-thinking South African. I think objectively about everything. I don't care if you are black. I don't care if you are white. I think objectively about everything. About everything. Now, you have people that are saying that the white media is trying to destroy black political parties with this bogus scandal of VBS. In Venda today, you have people that are crying because their savings have been destroyed. You literally have people that are crying because their services have been, like people are crying. People are saying that, guys, we invested our last money there. We invested our last money in this bank, and we hoped that these people are going to do anything meaningful for us. These are the kind of people that have been robbed and taken advantage of. I'm trying to show you two people that had actually took their money and put this money into VBS. I will show you what people are feeling on the ground. Then you have the supporters of these two political parties saying that the white media is the one that is guilty because the white media is trying to destroy black political parties. But at the same time, you have people on the ground, my guy. You have people on the ground that are crying because they have been robbed. It is so sad, man.
People, they have betrayed these victims.
This really hurt us and our children. The money that I saved was for taking my children to university.
So this woman is not going to be able to take her children to university because their money, the money that she took, she put into that VBS, and the VBS was looted. So she's not going to be able to take her children to university because her life savings are gone. Then you still have the supporters of these political parties telling you that this is the fault of the white media and the white media is trying to destroy the black political parties. Man, I hope one day black people are going to realize that this corner is not worth staying in. It is hard to be a free-thinking black person in this country. It is hard.
That's the people they claim to care about. That's the people whose kids they go around kissing during election campaigning.
Of course.
The people they promise heaven and earth when they campaign for elections. Those are the people they have betrayed, these victims.
This really hurt us and our children. The money that I saved was for taking my children to university.
I
am not happy with the sentencing that they gave Chifiwa Matodzi. Many people lost their lives because of all the money they stole from us. They should increase the years. The bank was our future, and now it is all history.
These are the people that lost their money because of greedy executives of the bank and politicians who helped them in their greed and their fraud and their corruption.
Exactly. What happened in VBS, man, like, it has consequences on the ground. You have people on the ground that have suffered in the hands of these greedy people. And for supporters of political parties to simply dismiss anything that has been said as a lie, as a propaganda. How can people be so heartless? How can people be so heartless, man? These are people's savings, man. These are people's lives. People worked all their lives to save up this money, man. You can see that woman, man, she worked all her life so that she can take her children to university. Those people are not happy, man. Those people are hurt. It's been over 5 years. and justice has not been served to those people. How can the supporters of political parties be so heartless? How can people be so heartless? How can people dismiss everything that has been said so far? We have not accused anyone of being guilty, but we are simply calling for these matters to be ventilated in the courts of law, so that people who are responsible for this mess can be held accountable, so that those people can get their monies back. This is the only thing that we are calling for. Just because EFF leadership has been mentioned in this report or in this affidavit, it doesn't mean that these people are guilty. No one has actually accused these people of being guilty. But we are simply calling for accountability. So how can average South Africans on the ground be so heartless? When did we become so heartless as the people of this country? When did we stop having compassion for one another? Are we going to continue to play these games of the politicians to hurt each other? Are you willing, or are you waiting for politicians to do something to you, to your family members, before you actually see that all of these things that are being said right now, they have some sort of merit? Man, people are so heartless, man. People are so heartless, man. Can you imagine your life savings, man? Your life savings. You worked all your life, man. You've been saving up, man. You are a poor black person in this country, man. You are working hard. You are doing everything for your family. Then you have people coming to you and telling you that you need to invest your money in this bank. We have a new bank. We have a new black bank that is going to take care of everything, man, and your money is going to be safe. You don't have to bank with those banks that you usually know. Please take your money to this bank. Everything, man, is going to fall into place. And the same politicians, man, they come and they take your money. Then you have the supporters of those political parties, of those politicians, man, not even willing to see what actually happened in VBS. This is the most hateful story, man, I've ever heard. Like, this is the most hateful thing ever. This is the most hateful thing ever. And the fact that people are simply choosing to be so heartless, it makes everything worse.
It really is damning, some of the claims contained in that affidavit. You say you're surprised that, this detail is coming from Matodzi himself. I wonder if there's anything in the affidavit that took you by surprise. We heard of other names emerging, including Dondo Mokojane, for example, and the PIC.
Yeah, I really am worried about that claim. And because I'm worried, I phoned or I messaged Dondo yesterday. I hold him in high regard. He was the DG for Treasury for a while. He's now at the GPF Chair Board of Trustees. So he got a lot of this country's money, and that's very important for all of us. And I asked him about these allegations, sent him the affidavit, sent him the screen grabs, and Dondo denied everything.
And by the way, Dondo released a video, man, denying everything, denying and saying that, man, what Tsifiwa said, it is not true. Dondo denied everything and said that what Tsifiwa said, it is not true. So that's why I'm calling, man, for this matter to go to the courts. Right now, I do not trust anyone. I know that some of these journalists, they hold Dondo to a high regard. I don't hold anyone to high regard at this point. I simply want people to be held accountable. I want people to get what is due to them. I don't care if Pauli van Wyk holds Dondo to high regard. I don't care about that. I want him to go to the court of law and actually clear his name. Everyone who has been mentioned needs to go to the courts and clear their names. If you are not willing to go to the courts and clear your names, then you are willing to let us make our own judgment.
He said that it was hogwash, that there's no evidence for these claims, and that at the time he was fighting VBS and he was telling the municipalities to withdraw their money from VBS, and that if the claims are true, he wouldn't have done that. And there is some support for what he says from sources. But then again, his current employer at the Moti Group, it's all a questionable circumstance. And it needs to be questioned. And I think this particular line of Matotzi's affidavit needs to be fleshed out because there's not much detail in there. And that really did take a surprising turn and a worrying turn as well.
Yeah. Of course, the VBS story has highlighted a number of issues in a country like ours. One of them is our ability at many turns to let down the most vulnerable people in our society. But also it's shone a spotlight on our ability to actually track financial crimes and ensure that people who are involved in these sometimes very complex corrupt activities are found. How confident are you that we'll be able to see this through, given the many challenges that have been in the way in the past?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Can I just hang on first to what you just first said about the victims? And I think it's very important that we never forget who these victims are. In 2021, and then by the end of 2023 in December, I visited a woman in Venda, and she lived in a very small village close to Thohoyandou. And I went to her because she was one of the victims and one of the people who lost a lot of money that she gained and received via magwinya selling and farming in her backyard. And when I saw her in December, I was so shocked because she lost 20 kilograms of weight. She lost some teeth. She grew old very, very quickly in 3 years' time. And when I left her, she said to me, "Will you please?" And she can't speak English, and I can't speak Venda. We talked through a translator. But she said to me, "Will you please come back soon? Because I don't have much time to live. I don't have food to eat. I'm so sorry that I cannot offer you anything here because I don't have money. All of it was stolen. But please come back to me and tell me that there has been some justice." And we cannot forget that story. There are many, many people like that. And then to your question about seeing it through, that is a very good question and an important one where we need to talk to the NPA and the Hawks. And
Oh dear, it looks
like we need to ensure that they do their job and take this through, because financial crimes are one of the problems that the FATF report and the grey listing have highlighted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose there's also something to be said about journalism in the country, right? I mean, I started off by saying that you had stuck with the story for quite some time, and that didn't come without any, let's call it backlash for lack of a better term. And I wonder where you reckon that puts the work that journalists do in this country, given the fact that a lot of the people implicated here, let's face it, have an incredible following, and sometimes that following is louder than the facts themselves.
Good point. And what worries me then is, what about the young journalists who thought that they may want to be investigators, but they're not yet experienced enough to withstand an onslaught like this? How many young journalists do we lose because of these unwarranted attacks with no evidence based on race or age or sex, mostly? I mean, it's for no woman it's acceptable to hear that you must be raped and burned and hanged because you wrote about the financial crimes of one of the popular leaders in the country. That is simply not acceptable. So one thing that could have helped was if the Hawks and the police and the NPA had done this much quicker, that there was some sort of a justice much quicker, so that the people in the country could realize that the journalists are accountable and that we cannot publish lies. Otherwise, Danny Msiza and Julius Malema and Floyd Chivambu and Kabelo Masepe would have taken me to court if I lied. They never did. But they resulted to insults, and their followers ensured that they hound me and gave all sorts of threats to my life. And I don't think that's good for journalism, especially growing young talent.
Sure, loud and clear. While they always say the wheels of justice turn slowly, but hopefully they continue to turn nonetheless. Pauli van Wyk, thanks for your time.
And guys, this is the reason why, again, I say that we only pretend to care about corruption when corruption has been committed by people that we don't like. I mean, like, even on that slot of not Gaten McKenzie, even on that slot of Clement Manyatela, that lady from Eyewitness News, TD, and Pauli van Wyk, whenever they talk about Dondo, like suddenly the tone changes. You can hear right now, no, Dondo, I called Dondo and I sent Dondo the screenshot. No, man, no. This person has been implicated. So we are going to treat them the same. They need to be treated the same. You can't say simply because you have Dondo on your WhatsApp and Dondo is your friend and Dondo and that part where he talks about Dondo, that part needs to we really need to look at it. No, the affidavit is out. The people have been implicated. We are treating them the same until all of them they go to the courts and clear their names. We are not going to play that game. We are not going to play that name. I see right now, every time, the mainstream media, whenever they get to Dondo, man, the tone changes. They can talk about everyone who has been implicated. But when they get to Dondo, Dondo. No, guys. We are not going to allow that. We are not going to allow that. We want everyone who has been named in that affidavit to actually clear their names. Everyone, they need to clear their names. If you have managed to clear your name, then good. Then we can change the tone when we get to your name. But right now, we cannot trust anything. And this is what I'm trying to warn you guys. Do not have favorites when it comes to this corruption thing. Do not have favorites. Do not. Guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button. And the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.